So let me take a quick second to talk about where I would deploy this or implement this within the data center. And the reason is I get a lot of customers that come to us and say, well, what if I've got an all Cisco or all Juniper environment? Can I deploy this as a leaf and my Cisco spine remains in place? And the answer there is absolutely yes. So as a leaf switch, it can absolutely integrate with a Cisco spine or Juniper spine, Arista spine, Extreme, etc. It doesn't really matter. Two, it obviously integrates well with any underlying server platform, whether it's Dell, HP, Cisco, etc. So there's no integration issues there. And if it's only in a portion of my data center, it still works well with other leaf switches. So as an example, I am inspecting traffic as it is going ingress or egress. Whether it's coming from the network side or the workload side, I can inspect that traffic and do firewall policy rules against that traffic at the same time, so that even if my traffic is originating from another server or rack elsewhere in the data center, I can still inspect that traffic as it approaches my workload that I am protecting. And then I've had some customers come to me and say, well, what if I've already got something in place like Guardicore, Lumio, NSX? Can I still use this solution? And the answer is absolutely yes. Let me give you a quick example. If you're using VMware NSX to protect your underlying VM sitting on a server, let NSX protect that underlying VM, and we can add a secondary layer of security to protect everything else. Everything else being other hypervisors that are not VMware, or bare metal environments, or Kubernetes or container environments, or your backup or your storage, all of those environments, even the NSX VM that's sitting on that VM kernel remains unprotected. So we can actually protect the VM kernel that's hosting NSX, and we can protect the management path between that NSX component and vCenter or the NSX manager. So there are significant things we can do within the data center in addition to what security you're already getting. So with that, I want to make sure nobody misunderstands or misrepresents. We are not replacing your perimeter-based firewall or your overall data center, your big $1 million Palo Alto firewall. That's not what we're doing. But we are absolutely implying that we can add or replace or supplement firewall services for the east-west environment, for the server-to-server traffic or the VM-to-VM traffic within your data center environment. That is what we're really good at, and that's what we've been delivering. The switch is also available. It's in inventory. Today, it's shipping approximately 2 weeks after PO order processing. And so getting your hands on one of these switches is not a challenge. And then the last thing I want to talk about in this environment is where I could install this switch in the environment. So I've got about half of my existing users installing it as a top-of-rack switch or as a leaf switch in their environment. So as their existing leaf switch or top-of-rack switch comes up for replacement or refresh, you look at this Aruba top-of-rack switch to simply take that place and provide those stateful security services we talked about earlier. The other half of my customers are not touching their network fabric. They've got a network team in place that says, look, my network's fine. I don't need to replace my top-of-rack switch. My leaf switches are okay, leave them alone. And the security team is saying, listen, I've been looking for a security solution similar to this. If we're not going to replace the top-of-rack switch, I'm going to insert this security appliance between the top-of-rack switch and my servers and turn on stateful security services at that point in the network. And so at least a third of my customers have been deploying it in this manner.